This is a 2021 Ford Ranger Storm Track, and I'm hoping I've got myself an absolute bargain with this because I've taken a big gamble. I bought this from BCA from a non-runner sale. Ben and I saw this truck and we thought we could make that into something quite cool actually. But despite thinking that it's going to need an engine, I think we got quite a good deal on this, and I'll tell you how much exactly at the end of this video. Interestingly though, when this arrived on the back of a trailer, the transport driver actually fired it up and drove it off the trailer, much to our surprise and delight, I have to say. Turns out that in the last day of bidding on this, after I'd done all my research, they added some information that says that it was a problem with the brakes, not so much the engine. So it runs completely fine, but there is a problem with the brakes. Aptly, with this being called the Storm Track, it's quite stormy here actually. The winds are up to about 45 miles an hour and it's starting to rain. So seeing as this wheel drive, but has bad brakes, I'm going to very cautiously drive this in the workshop. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what's actually wrong with this truck when we get in there. Before we get into exactly what is wrong with this truck and how we're going to sort that out, let me tell you about the Storm Track, what I know of it. I can tell you that it has what they call fashion paint, this lovely red. I actually quite like this, especially with the black stripes and the black wheels and some of the other funky bits that we might do to this in this video. Inside, we've got a nice heated leather interior. We've got an automatic gearbox. We've got a nice media system. We've got this nice LED cockpit system, all black inserts. You've got Storm Track on the dash, as I say. Oh, it's like a part leather actually. There are some Alcantara bits on there, which actually is my favourite combination for an interior, I have to say. Half leather, half Alcantara. Nice in the back as well. We've even got a 240 volt socket in the back. So if you wanted to power up your hair straighteners or something, if you're Ben and you're precious about your hair and stuff, then you could do that. We have got 18-inch alloy wheels with road tyres on. We've also got a bit of a dented rear bumper. That's something we're going to have to sort out. It's obviously had a bit of a bump here and damaged the back, so we're going to have to sort that out. But you've got an absolutely huge bed with bed liner in it. Quite nice on this that it's actually got some kind of soft open struts, because normally these would just slam down. But my most exciting feature about this truck, not only has it got like a tonneau cover, it's electric. It's just... Okay, there we go. Then you learn how to press it right. Look at that. No mucking around using your limbs to open and close the lid on your truck. Look at that. And then just open it up again. Absolutely smashing. So, very nice truck. The one downside it has is that it's fitted with the 2-litre Ford diesel engine. And a lot of you will probably already know that these have a lot of problems with wet belts. In fact, we thought probably the wet belt was the reason that this car was a non-runner, and it is in a sense, but it hasn't actually killed the engine. The belt has gone. Now, a lot of you have probably heard a lot about wet belts on engines and how much of a pain they are, and quite frankly, whoever invented the wet belt deserves to be and then in with the right up there and on by anyway, they exist and they're in the world. Luckily for us, this wet belt hasn't gone. What we are assuming has happened is that the wet belt in here is degraded in the oil and it's kind of started breaking away, and you get bits of rubber. You'll see lots of videos where people are pulling out these bits of belt from the strainer, bits of fibre and rubber and things like that, and it's clogged things up. Well, in our instance, it's clogged up the vacuum pump for the brakes, which will give you the power to operate those hydraulic brakes. And it's full of cam belt. So in order to get this mechanically right, we're going to have to change the wet belt. We're going to have to give it a serious flush out. We could flush out the vacuum pump, but we are just going to replace it and make sure that it's completely brand new, because there's a fair chance that it will just clog up with a bit more stuff. So that is most definitely a job for Ben. But in the meantime, while he's away on holiday, if I haven't mentioned that already, there's some cosmetic things that we want to do to this truck, which I can do while he's not here. So that's what I'm going to get on with today. Amongst this pile of stuff here, we've got some extended arches to give it a very aggressive off-road look. In the black box down there, we've got wheel spacers to space these wheels out. I've got a new rear bumper as well for that one that's dented on there, so we can put that on, get that straightened out, and probably a body shop will have to sort the paintwork. In this box, we got some nice wind deflectors, and That's about it, other than the one thing I'm quite concerned about when it comes to this build. Probably because I was in charge of ordering parts, and I just don't know if it's going to fit. If there's one thing that's going to give this a bit more of an aggressive off-road look like we want, then it's going to be new tyres, because these are just standard road tyres that you'd have on a van or anything. Lovely to drive on the road, but just don't have that aggressive look. These are a 265 60 18, and I thought when I order some tyres, we're going to want some kind of mud-style tyres, and we're going to want them to be a little bit bigger, because if you have mud tyres at this, it might look a little bit stupid. Now, I didn't really do much research on exactly what size I should get, so before we look at the tyres, I'll tell you the size. What I ordered was a 285 75 18, which actually doesn't sound that much bigger, does it? We've gone from 265 to 285. We've gone from 60 to 75. And obviously the rim size is 18, it's still stayed the same. But they are absolutely monstrous. I am concerned that they may not be fitting in the arches. I've probably gone a little bit overboard. They're quite expensive at £750. So, yeah. I'm concerned. If they fit on, they're going to look amazing. But if they don't, they're going to rub, and I'm not going to be very popular with Ben, because you'll probably have to fit a lift kit on this to just clear the tyres, because we probably can't return them. So keep me in your prayers. We will leave that to last, so I don't get too upset if they don't fit. I think I'll start with the arches. Right. So we've got these arches. These have come from Brute Status. Shout out to them, it's not a sponsor. They had one of the best value kits out there, because you get your arches and your wheel spacers all in one kit. And they're quite reasonable. We're talking sort of 350 quid, I think. Whereas others were much more expensive. Right, so these have already got the tape on there. Basically, what we're going to be doing is undoing the mud flaps. And these go in, stick on, and kind of bolted in a couple of places, which we'll figure out as we go along. This is obviously going to be the side with the fuel cap. So, boring, no arches. To that. Look at that. So, we don't actually bolt with these holes. These are going to be nuts that we fit on the back first. Undo this in here, and I think... Oh, I don't know, actually. This might be a different style than I've seen before. Yeah, so we don't use that fixing. We use the fixing in the front there, stick it on and screw it up into the arch liner in a couple of places, and that is basically how it's going to look. I might start on the front one. So these front ones are in two pieces, I think, as we go over the bumper. That's going to be the other side. So maybe this is the one we'll do first. So the front ones, you do take these trim clips out, and that will help fit it in there. It goes on lined up, and probably the same on the front one. I'll take the trim clips out first, and then we'll wipe it down, because we need to make sure this is really nice and clean before we try and stick anything to it. That's pretty much actually everything we need to take off, so I'm going to give this a wipe down. Seeing as it's got a pre-stuck bit of tape, I'm going to cut it in the middle. A couple of little tabs, because you only get one good shot at doing this. Have them hanging out the front. Oh, sugar lumps. Got ahead of myself here. Forgot to put our fake bolt things in. And now I remember, actually. Of course I meant to use these. Instead of using the trim clips this time round, you put that in and then you can screw it in. Just as well I spotted that. So each one of these is going to go in here, get tightened up. Shame they can't do this in advance. Right, that's that on. Currently, it won't hold very well down the bottom here. The adhesive that comes on it, not really up to the job, so I might have to put something else on there in the long run. That'll do for now. Okay, so we get in there, we'll slide on our little clips again. The first thing I do, Toby. Oh, that bolt, you mean? Yeah. I'll have the technique sorted soon. Never done one of these before, you know. Why they've done that, I don't know. Why would they have like a separate cover that goes on afterwards? It's weird, there's no access to anything under there. Someone in the comments will tell us. Maybe some of them have a camera there or... There we are, one arch done. Yeah. Should we, before we put it down, should we do a wheel spacer while we're here? We can see how far out the wheels are going to come. There we are. So we've got to take the wheel off, clean the hub up, put that on, and then put the wheels on. Jeez. And saying that, is there much point in putting the wheel back on until we've done the tyres? Do we go and do a tyre now and put it on, see what it looks like, or do we save it for the end? The grand reveal. I think we'll save it. Sorry. Gotta hook you in till the end. But that is one arch done. We'll put probably a bit of Tiger Seal or something on there and get that on because that tape isn't up to it. Maybe we get some better like 3M tape just on that last little bit. But otherwise, what do you reckon, Toby?
I think it looks pretty cool.
Looking pretty mean. Should we tackle a backie now? All right, how many mountings on this one? 1, 2, 3, that side. Just one, this side. This should be quite an easy, quick one. Before everyone gets in the comments and says, that's not how you're going to do it, you're ruining them clips. Well, A, we don't need the clips. And secondly, I know, I just don't have the tools. So we have to get some trim clip removal tools. This is just what I've got. Done, getting loads quicker. We'll save the wheels to last because we've run out of juice on the old ugga-dugga. I'll get all these arches on, we'll get all the wheels off, do our best to change the tyres, and then we'll drop it down. We've still got wind deflectors to do, and I've still got this rear bumper to do, but I mean, I'm bossing this. He's probably going to take days doing that cam belt, but you know, some of us don't have to drag it out. Don't worry, I haven't just ignored this mud in here. I've made a note of it. We'll get Charlie to get right in there and clean it all out. Nice fitment on the back bumper this time though. All right, other than that bit, I think I have to play around with. One more arch done. That just ain't right. What on earth? They could have accidentally packaged the wrong. That bit's right. But that is not. That's weird. Packaging error, I'm sure, for a different model of Ranger or something. Okay, that's not going to work, so I'll have to get in touch with them. What next? What next? We've got one arch we can't do. Should we just... I mean, I should be doing the bumper. That's a practical thing that's damaged, but obviously I just want to do tyres. Let's go have a drink, and then we'll come back and we'll do the rear bumper, because that's a sensible thing. Right, so seeing as we've still got the bumper to do, and clean up all these hubs and put the wheel spacers on, I'm going to send Hamilton to go and get our tyres done, because I've still got to bolt down our machine and balancer and all that sort of stuff, so
yep.
see if they'll fit.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to fit. Do we know if they're going to fit?
No, we don't know.
We don't know.
We're risking it for a biscuit, because if they all go on and they're rubs and we can't move it, we're going to have to go back and pay them to swap them again. Are we going to fit all four? Do you think we should do two at a time?
We'll fit all four in there. We'll get one.
Well, yeah, but then we've got to do four massive tyres.
Yeah, we're not going to fit the full tyres in, no, we know.
So maybe two wheels and two tyres.
Yeah.
Might be able to do three. This one goes down the side.
Okay.
Like that.
And then one on top.
Yeah, one on top.
One on top. That's a box.
So there's the other one's over here, so I'll meet you over there. Now I know what's going to happen here. There's going to be a lot of people saying, "Where's the copper grease? You haven't torqued them up properly and all that sort of stuff." We will do. This isn't going anywhere until it's had its wet belt done. So I'll get Ben to check all that again. If it needs grease, I don't know. What do I know? He can put it on there. But in the meantime, we can put it on and make it look cool. Right, that's that bit done. I suppose we better take a look at the bumper. It's my least favourite bit that I'm looking forward to. Or the bit that I'm least looking forward to, I should say. It's just not cool, and it's just not that exciting, is it? Let's have a look what we've got. See, I don't know why I got grey. It'll probably look alright. But our current one is black, I think. It's not a huge difference. I don't think you're really going to notice too much by the time it's actually off. So, do we have to take all the individual bits off, or will it kind of come off in one hit? Now this could sound like a lazy cop-out, but part of me thinks, seeing as we've got to have that bit repaired, do I leave it off? Is that lazy? Is that smart? It's not going to be as far as that one was, because that's where it's done the damage. But I do think that makes sense, and I'm going to stick with it. So we can lower this down, tie the cables up, make sure we get these parking sensor bits out, chuck the rest on the scrap pile, put some wind deflectors on, wait for tyres, marvel at my creation, and then wait for Ben to get back and actually fix it. So let's do it. These are our wind deflectors. Don't know how they fit. They hopefully are ones that just clip into the window frame, but they might have some adhesive. Product requires primer, packed at destination. does it. Okay, yeah, we've got a tape primer. This is the sort of thing, to be fair, these little primer things I was expecting for the arches. Going like that. Stuck on. I like that step one on the instructions is look at the instructions. How could I not be doing this? Seems to have blown its back doors out. Tape primer, yellow. Crush at dot. Okay. Have to be careful here. Nailed it. Now I want to look at the back one, just make sure I can actually get it lined up, because otherwise it's going to look stupid. Oh, just like that. Oh yeah. Now we just do the other side. Crush. And all the primer comes flooding out. Look at that. Bang in. Apologies for doing that. Now all we got to do is try some wheels on here, see if they actually fit. Place your bets now whether these massive tyres are actually going to fit in the arches and turn, or if I'm going to be breaking the news to Ben that we have to fit a lift kit, or he has to fit a lift kit when we get back in order to fit them. Right, Hamilton has come back with 3 out of the 4 wheels with tyres on. We went to our most local but not preferred tyre place, and they wanted £35 per tyre to change them, just to put the tyre on. So we're back to good old GH tyres in Burnham, like our absolute heroes, we love them. £12.50 a tyre. How can you argue with that? But look at these absolute monsters. Radar Renegades RT Plus in a 285 75 R18. Massive. They will fit on here, but will it be drivable? Can I even lift them on? That's the next question. Oh God, they're heavy. Maybe we'll bring it down. Can you hold that there, Toby? And I'll know what kind of height. About there. Lovely. God, there's a lot of rubber. Almost just, I don't know actually. I was about to say it looks like we've got more space in the front, but by the time they turn, it's gonna look cool though. She's a beast. It's gonna be tight. I have to wait for the last wheel. We'll get that on and roll it out and we can have a look at this creation. It does look cool. I think it only needs a little lift on the front, you know, and that would sort us out, because it kind of looks like it's tilting forwards. I know they do, but people do buy like just front lift kits to kind of square it up. But it looks cool. That's the main thing. Yes. Yeah, I think a little lift on the front. I'll have to look into what something like that would cost, but I'm sure it's a moment's work for Ben. We'll get that little rear quarter repaired, get the wet belt changed, get the rear bumper on, and hopefully get another arch, because This side looks a bit daft. But that is it for my input on this thing. We've got it 95% of the way there, and Ben can do just 5% of the effort and do the wet belt. So I'm going to go and look for front lift kits, and I'll let you catch up with Ben when he's back.
Okay, so the Ford Ranger's in the workshop now, and it's time to complete my 5% of the job. Just the last little bit. So I think what we're going to have to do is swap out the wet belt, replace the vacuum pump, and hopefully that cures all of our problems. Oh no, looks like we have a blown shock absorber. So it's a good job I'm having to take these shock absorbers out anyway, because we do have what's called a level kit going in. Okay, so up top, it looks like we're gonna have to remove this air box, this doohickey thing on the side here, don't know what it does, I'm sure we'll find out. This boost pipe, these giant fan shrouds, and a really big fan that's driven by the auxiliary belt. A couple more belts, of course, the drive shaft, the steering rack, the sump. Hopefully with this front cover off, we should be looking at the wet belt, and we'll see what sort of condition it's in. Oh, well, I'm glad that's out. So far, it's not actually been that bad. I've quite enjoyed working on a Ford. I wonder if I'll be saying that by the time we finish the job. Okay, so it would appear that there is quite a bit of material stuck in this oil strainer pickup. So at least we know we're heading down the right direction, and that belt did need replacing, but we will have to make sure we give this a really good clean before we put it back in the car. Right, and there we have it. That's the front cover. Not too bad, to be fair. I just kind of broke the seal on the top and just peeled it off like a label. Not too bad at all, but that belt isn't looking too great at all. Okay, so there's definitely some signs in here that the wet belt was on its way out, and we've got loads of this sludge. It's just remnants of the rubber from the belt. You can see all the teeth is still on the belt, which is a good sign. So let's get it off and inspect it further. Okay, so here's the oil pump belt. I don't think these are as susceptible to falling apart as the actual drive belt itself, but there is some cracking starting to form between the teeth, and this is the oil pump belt, so you know, if this one let go, it'd cause just as much catastrophic damage as if the actual wet belt itself went. So let's get that one off next. And there it is, all of that work, taking off differentials, steering racks and sumps and whatnot, just to replace this belt here. And condition wise, doesn't look that great. You can see here all the cracking, which is starting to form all the way around the belt. Even in between the teeth here, you can see all the cracking here. So that sludge we found in the sump and also behind the timing cover itself is definitely wet belt particles. So I have already cleaned up the sump area and got it all free of gasket material. I'm going to have to do the same down the front here now, make sure everything is absolutely spotless, and then we can put it back together with our genuine Ford wet belt kit. Okay, so that's the cover on now with a nice bead of sealant around it and all torqued to spec. Next is water pump. Alright, I think that's everything on top of the engine put back together. The airbox is in, this shroud, the fan, all the pipe work's all connected. So I think wet belt wise, the last things to do now are put the oil pickup tubes back in, give those a good clean out, get the oil sump back on. Of course, we've got to put the steering rack in and the drive shaft and the front struts. So that's next on the agenda. Okay, so steering rack's back in, drive shafts are all back in. Obviously got to put the hub nuts on the end of them, but I think it's now time to build up the shock absorbers, and then yeah, we'll just wrestle them in because they're going to be a little bit longer than they were when they were coming out. Next on the agenda is the vacuum pump. Again, another genuine Ford part, and I believe the vacuum pump is buried down the back of the engine. So I think what we're gonna have to do is take the wiper arms off, the shroud, potentially even the wiper motor itself, and that might just give us enough room to get some tools down the back of the engine to get that old vacuum pump off. It would appear actually there's more of that belt material pulling in through this, I don't know, breather vent, something like that. I'd actually be curious to open this up and see exactly what has gone wrong in there. Oh God, look what's happened in there. So there's this is acting as the seal, which will run against the outside of this case. But it is absolutely disintegrated. Next is the rest of the major service kit. So we've got an oil filter, fuel filter and pollen filter to chuck in. Of course, some engine oil we'll chuck in there as well. And then we should be good to see if this thing starts. Okay, so that's the front differential topped up and the engine's also full of oil. Nothing left but the moment of truth. Have we done everything right? And can we actually start this thing? So let's give it a go. Beautiful. Crikey, you've got to climb up into this thing now with the lift kit and wheel package. And of course I am expecting it to start first time. Beautiful. Oh, and the brakes work an absolute treat as well.
So here it is, and what a difference. What an absolute transformation this has been. I'm sure you will agree, it looks absolutely awesome and looks completely different to how it arrived. Even just down to giving it a good old clean from Charlie now, sorting out some of these paint defects, it just looks a million times better. Obviously, we've made some pretty drastic changes with the arches, the massive tyres, which I have to admit have been a bit of work for Ben, so amazing effort from him to get all those actually fitted right, because I kind of just chucked them on and let him deal with the problem. So thank you for sorting that out, Ben. We've got the nice wind deflectors on there. We've had this rear quarter repaired by James at J Repairs. Did an amazing colour match. It was quite expensive because this is a 3-stage pearl, or 3-stage something, he tells me. And that's probably because it's this fashion paint. That took a bit of work getting the right paints and everything in there, but looks a million times better. And then thanks to Carl, who came in and replaced the graphics that we needed. Completely changed that corner now, looking back to factory. Got a new bumper on here as well, which is fitted. Just need to put the rear number plate on it. And it just generally looks 100 times better. And I feel like it's a good foot taller now as well. So it's very imposing when it's out on the road. It's also looking very nice inside now that Charlie's giving it a good valet in there as well. But obviously the main thing with this truck was the fact that the brakes didn't work. So Ben has sorted that out by sorting out the entire wet belt system, changing the vacuum pump on there as well. And now it stops on a dime. I know what you're thinking. How much have we spent on this truck to get it to where it is now? And is it going to be putting us in a position where we're making a profit? Well, let's hop inside and I'll talk you through all the figures. So I have a list, and I have to admit, it is quite a long one, but it doesn't mean we're not in profit. So what did we actually bid for this at auction? I bid £8,000, which was, I think, a good £3,500 under the cap price for this. So we did get it very cheaply, and we were banking on putting an engine in, but obviously we got very lucky. There was fees on that of £404.17, delivery of £250. These are all plus VAT, so we'll add the VAT at the end. Then once it was here, we needed a wet belt kit, a water pump and a vacuum pump, which cost us £467 plus VAT. Then we needed a full service kit, all the filters and the oil, which is another £115 plus VAT. Shock absorbers were £131.66, which was very good for a Mute 4x4. Lift blocks for the front, because if we hadn't got those, it just wouldn't clear those tyres at all. They were £46.03. Very cheap indeed. The wind deflectors, in fact, cost more. They were £52.34. Then we had the arch and wheel spacer kit, which was £248.58 plus VAT. Had a bit of a drama with getting that here and all the correct pieces and getting the delivery sorted, but it's here now and it looks amazing. The bumper came from the same place. That was £174.16. The tyres were quite an expensive item. £620.83. And then in this instance, we got someone to fit them for us because we're on a bit of a time crunch. So that was £50 plus VAT. The paint was £340 plus VAT by J Repairs. And I have to say a massive thank you to Carl at Shadow Works, who did our graphics for us for free, which is a really nice gesture. He popped out here. We plied him with tea and coffee, although he doesn't actually drink it. But he managed to sort those out for us really quickly. Which brings our grand total to £10,649.77 plus VAT of £2,129.95, and also £250 for the delivery because there was no VAT on that. Which means our grand total for this complete expenditure, including the VAT, is £13,029.72, which is actually, I believe, still less than what the cap clean for this truck was. So we've managed to buy it, completely renovate it and improve it for cheaper than it should have been at auction anyway. I've done a bit of research on what this sort of pickup truck might be worth, and there aren't a huge amount of these Storm Tracks out there. They seem to be quite a limited run, but I had a look around on Auto Trader, and I think, including VAT, this is around about a £21,000 truck, which is £17,500 plus VAT. So we have done very well here indeed. if we were retailing this, we would be absolutely laughing. But I think what we're going to do is offer this to the trade. And in fact, I've already listed this on my online platform, carsboughtformore.com, where you can buy cars from the public, but also dealers can sell to one another exactly like I'm planning to do with this. And I have listed this at £15,000 plus VAT for what is essentially a retail prepped vehicle. We're going to put an MOT on it. It's the last thing we need to do. And other than that, it's ready to go with a brand new wet belt, and someone will still have around about £2,500 profit with very minimal work. So if you are a car dealer and you're not already signed up for Cars Bought For More, then make sure you check that out. Get yourself an account on there, because that might be where a lot of our project cars end up once we fix them, and that is exactly where this one has gone now. And if we were to sell that for £15,000 plus VAT, that would leave us with a nice juicy profit of £4,350.23, which would definitely pay for a little bit of electric for keeping that ramp going and keeping Ben stocked up in coffee while we get on with the next project. So a great success. So that is it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed this new style. If you have, make sure you give it a like, and definitely give it a hype as well, which is a new feature which will really help us out. And don't forget to check out Feel Good competitions as well. As this video goes out, our Audi R8 competition is coming to an end, where you can win that for just £1. But if you're watching this at a later date, we will have, hopefully, even bigger and better cars that you can win. And if you want to see a Ranger like this as a competition prize in the future, let us know, because it was actually a very fun build. We've enjoyed doing this one, and it looks awesome, and it'd be nice to keep it around for a little bit longer than just trading it on. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to see the full in-depth video of all this work getting done, then make sure you check out Ben's channel, which is Ben Thompson Cars, and it'll be linked in the description below. And we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.